Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you all for joining us for the fourth and final webinar in our four-part Managed Services Journey webinar series. This one is entitled, You've Signed Your Managed Services Agreement, so what's next? And I want to welcome you to the webinar today. We've got a lot of great content planned for you, and we're going to get started in just a moment here. First, though, I just want to take a few moments to introduce who's on the line with you, and I'm just going to see if there we go, perfect. So my name's Stephanie Baskerville. I'm going to be your webinar host today, and I am ProServeIT's content writer. And joining me on the line is Tom Skrbuik, our team lead of managed services, and Corey Rainiker, VP of Alliances here at ProServeIT. And together, these two awesome gentlemen are going to be helping you understand the next steps after signing that managed services agreement. So just before we get started with the content for the webinar today, I'd like to point out to you that in the GoToWebinar platform, you're going to see a questions tab there. If at any point during the webinar you have a question, you can feel free to type it into the questions tab window, and I'll be happy to read out those questions as they come in. We do want to make this experience as organic as possible and ensure that you get the most out of your time with us today, so please don't be shy. You can use that questions tab as often as you need to, and Tom and Corey and I will be happy to answer those questions as they come up. So today's agenda is pretty packed. We're going to start things off with a short introduction into who ProServeIT is. Then we'll move into the meat and potatoes, so to speak, of today's webinar. We'll talk about the next steps after signing that managed services agreement, the role of the virtual CIO, and what they'll be doing for you, and then what you can expect from monthly reporting before going into some next steps in a more formal Q&A session. Although there will be the more formal Q&A session, please remember that questions tab is open during the entire webinar, so you can use it at any time. So let's just start off with a short introduction into who ProServeIT is. So ProServeIT is a Microsoft Gold partner with a comprehensive focus on cloud transformation, managed services, software development, IT service desk, and technology consulting. We have three main differentiators that we like to focus on. First and foremost, we are in the business of eliminating IT debt. And what we mean by that is that we want to make sure that you have the technology you need when you need it, and once you've purchased it, you're getting the maximum ROI on your investment. Second, we do put a security lens on everything that we do. So we want to help you manage your advanced cybersecurity risks and secure your identity, data, and devices. We also implement this internally as well. So when you're a customer of ours, we're keeping your data safe too. And last, we are your full stack technology partner. So we're going to be with you from start to finish, helping you along every aspect of your digital transformation journey to the cloud. And on this next slide here, you'll see a few of our service offerings and technology that we work with. So again, cloud transformation, professional services, software development, infrastructure, change management, managed services, and IT roadmaps as well, which help you understand how to leverage IT as a critical business advantage and close that gap between your business needs and your IT capabilities. So that's a little bit about ProServeIT, and that's going to do it for me from an About Us perspective. And we're going to dive right into the more substantial content for our topic today. A quick reminder again about that questions tab. If you've got questions as we're going through this, utilize the tab, and Tom, Corey, and I will make sure that your questions are answered. So let's dive into this topic. And for that, I'm going to introduce, or I guess pass the mic, so to speak, over to Tom and Corey now. So Tom, you want to take it away?
Perfect. Thanks, Stephanie. So just to talk a little bit more about managed service providers and get into it, managed service providers like ourselves can help extend IT resources, capabilities at your business without the expense, difficulty of finding or hiring and retraining of staff. So it helps complement current environment staff resources when you may not have that talent handy. How does the process start? Well, it starts with onboarding. So whether that onboarding happens on site or even over the phone, depending on how that onboarding goes, what we do is we start off with cataloging the environment, the passwords, employee details, who and how access is granted, things like networking topology, how everything connects within your organization, and using these pieces of information to better understand and know what makes your business work and what pieces are critical to your business. So what may be high priority for one business organization may not be for another. So having that onboarding process allows all the nuances that make your business unique and how you function. Those are all captured during an onboarding process itself. So desktop requirements, the server setups themselves, any of those types of environments are cataloged, they're put into a repository, and this is what is given to a managed services team, so that when you're brought on board, a presentation is given to the internal team themselves, and they can look at it, and this is how they're going to understand how your organization interacts, what operating systems, what software applications, how and who uses them, and that way, if there's a ticket or a problem, the right steps and the right processes already behind the scenes set up so that those who are supporting it can ask the right questions and correct whatever those problems may be as they come up. So it's the first part is just getting to know who you are, who your business is, how it operates, and getting that documentation in. And that's really the big step of onboarding. Taking it one step further, we start to dive into monitoring, whether that's the server, the network, or the desktop. So networking hardware or servers, it's extremely important that we're proactive with our measures and how we keep your business humming along. So to do this, monitoring agents are installed to review and report whether an environment is in either a green, yellow, or a red state. And to be sure that these alerts are accurate, fine-tuning of the agents is performed the first month during that onboard and during kind of that first month trial of how things are set up. So this is where it helps that we ensure that accurate temperature reporting is set up for your environment, so that we know if something comes into the system in a ticket as critical or red, that it's actioned accordingly as a P1. If it's yellow, it needs to have action, but it's not urgent that it happens right this instant. Or if a system is reporting green and properly, making sure that having those thresholds set up in the system so that we know your environment is working properly, and you know that your environment is being looked after behind the scenes. So this can be a big piece and a big component to understanding, and again, having your environment looked after outside of your workplace by a managed service company like ourselves. What types of monitoring can be expected with that? Whether it's antivirus, malware reporting itself, data backup services, making sure that backups themselves complete 100%, and if they don't, making sure that action is taken to resolve that. Network monitoring, whether it's a switch, Wi-Fi routers, or even the ISP, the service provider who provides your internet for your office. These are again monitors that are set up, and a managed service provider like ourselves look after these types of things behind the scenes. So if the internet goes down at a location, we can get involved and get in contact with your ISP, whether it be TELUS, Bell, whoever, and get a ticket opened up, figure out what is going on with your internet connection, and make sure it's actioned appropriately. So if an on-site technician needs to be dispatched, getting a ticket opened up with the ISP and having a ticket sent to yourselves behind the scenes to show that this ticket has been opened up, you will be getting a contact touch point from the local ISP provider to your location, what that window of time will be, and those things get looked after for you outside of your regular business hours or during for you as being a managed service provider. Software services, we have again agents that are installed to help monitor things like whether you have an SQL server or services, OS, or even domain controllers. Cloud computing services, so again, whether or not things are backing up to the cloud, or you may have applications that are hosted in the cloud, being able to monitor and keep track of the connections themselves to the cloud environment. Patching hardware health, again, very important, being able to report back when machines are either active or inactive on the system, being able to flag them accordingly, and having that proactive monitoring on your hardware and equipment during those times so that failures can be addressed before they become large failures. We'll move on to the next slide. So talking a little bit more on monitoring and the services for them. So again, security is a very big topic that we look at today, whether it's involving the patching and security patching of machines. AV and antivirus definitions are kept up to date, and machines are reporting back into the system, so we know that your machines are all in good health. If a machine does report back that it's not, or it's missing its updates, this is where that proactive engagement from the team can get in touch with the user of that machine, start working on resolving what may have caused that machine not to update, and be able to bring it back into that green health status that it should be in, so that you know your environment's fully secure, fully patched. Again, looking even at on-site cloud backups or server backups, whether it be on-prem or in the cloud, having that monitoring system to be able to report back when you have backups occurring, whether there was a pause in the backup or a hiccup, and then being able to have those addressed so that those backups do complete fully. And then of course having a reporting structure to be able to see how that backup structure or the security system and the patches work themselves, so to see that you're fully patched, fully backed up. When it comes to the hardware agents, like I was mentioning before, having that monitor agent on your machines, it helps us have eyes on your hardware when that way if a hardware failure, whether it be like a hard drive that starts to exhibit problems for data storage, they can be addressed before they become larger problems and a drive failure actually occurs. So some of those types of monitors and agents are big helps. So understanding, again, talking a little bit about what's in scope and out of scope for managed service agreements. One thing that does come up quite a bit when we talk with people is understanding where files are stored when backups occur, and just how do I get access to them, or what's that process look like. So most local desktops, with the way systems are set up today, files are usually not stored on a local machine. Usually it's stored to a server environment, a SharePoint environment, or potentially the cloud. And depending on how the individual organization has their data set up, will determine how data is retrieved. But what's nice is when you have a managed service team working for you, if a file is deleted by accident, it's as simple as opening up a ticket. So opening up that ticket, including the file name, and just having the last known good save copy. So if it was the previous day, being able to give that information in a ticket and sending that off, that gives the backup team the needed information to know where that file was stored, when the last known backup was for it, and they can get that retrieved for you and pulled back out of the backup system for you and get you back up and running with that file ASAP. So again, it gives you that added support and help where you need it and how you need it. So how does the after hours support work? And one of the big things with businesses and IT today is 9 to 5 doesn't usually cut it any longer. A lot of businesses run extended hours. They have multiple shifts. They may even have multiple locations. So one thing we like to highlight when it comes to a managed service agreement is kind of that it's a follow the sun scenario, where it's more than just that 9 to 5. We have many locations, which we'll talk about in the next couple slides. But when it comes to that 7 days a week, by 24 hours a day, by 365 days of the year, this is where you can get that extra support that you need. So being able to pick up that phone and dial for individual help on a particular problem, or just knowing that you can submit a ticket and you have the same type of day or night service level agreement that you would have had whether it was 9 to 5. So again, it's the extended work hour support that your business can take full advantage of to keep things running smoothly for you. Just speaking a little bit more to what we were talking about with that sunrise to sunset support, ProServeIT, we do have quite a few locations now, and we're expanding across the globe. So no matter which time zone you're needing support in, or what hour of the day it may be, you you can rest assured that an organization like ourselves will have that support coverage for you. With our many locations we have now, it gives us full coverage for that sunrise to sunset, no matter where you are. So depending on when that ticket is submitted or when you call in, will depend on who or what location you may deal with our organization, but you'll get that same level of customer support and service level agreement provided for you. The time of the day doesn't matter at that point. And again, just talking a little bit more about, doesn't matter how many locations your business may have, whether you're traveling, working from home, multiple offices. This is that global footprint that we're talking about, and having that type of coverage for your business. So instead of having to rely on that 9 to 5, you now have coverage outside of that window. And we'll just introduce Corey here for the Virtual CIO.
Yeah, thanks, Tom, and thanks for your time, everybody on the call. I'll be brief, but I think that the virtual CIO role that we've introduced into the managed services portfolio is a byproduct of us learning and understanding that customers need to sort of know what's going on out there. They don't have a handle on, sometimes they don't have a handle on what's going on in the market, anecdotal evidence, things of that nature, that sort of what are other people doing to address things like security and adoption of new technology and the order of operations and why. So we've introduced the VCIO as a business value to us delivering a managed services offering for our accounts. So they get to know you, they get to know your business priorities, what you're up against, where you're going to grow, how you're going to expand, if you're going to expand, how you can take advantage of what you've invested in terms of new technology and software, and then give you that roadmap and that reporting structure in order to ensure that you're using technology based on how you've adopted it. And our experience there has been it's been very strong in terms of the feedback around how the VCIO helps customers understand specifically, typically in their vertical, and sort of how people are growing and expanding their use of technology in a secure and orderly fashion. And the value impact has been huge, and we sort of add this into every agreement to ensure that we're advising and guiding our customers in their journey towards the cloud and how they adopt new technology. Next slide, please. In terms of reporting, so we have the typical reporting in terms of service levels for, you know, feedback and resolution times and how long a ticket was opened and closed and the usual typical things. But we've introduced this thing called Smileback, which is a, as you see on the slide there, green face, yellow face, red face, which is a immediate feedback loop for us from every single ticket that's opened by ProServeIT to ProServeIT. Every single customer experience gets a red, a yellow, or a green. And if we get a yellow or a red, we immediately, within 2 hours, call back from someone on the executive team to find out why. And what this does is it gives us a way for us to get this continuous feedback loop to improve ourselves and ensure that we're measuring the metrics, which is the user experience, as opposed to the statistics and things in a spreadsheet that people typically can fudge. You can't fudge this. So this is what we work hard to ensure, and I think we're in the 98th. Once I pass this back to Tom, he can confirm, but I think we're in the 98th percentile in terms of green Smilebacks. So if our customers are pleased with our service, if the user experience is very positive, that's a good thing for us and for you, and for a managed services provider, that's what you want to see, as opposed to the yellow and the red. So this is what we use to really measure how we're performing for you as part of our agreement for managed services.
All right. Thanks, Corey, and thank you, Tom, as well, for that wonderful content that you've provided. Before we get into the Q&A and before we get into the next steps as well, I just wanted to remind everybody on the line that this is the fourth and final webinar in our 4-part managed services webinar series. So we did want to thank you very much for joining us on this managed services journey, and to let you know that all 4 of these webinars are available on demand to you to go back and review the content for each webinar at your convenience. So we'll be sending those links to you in the follow-up email that we'll be sending out in just a few days from this webinar, and you'll have a link to all 4 of the webinars as well that you can go back to. So now let's talk about some next steps. So in this series, we've talked a lot about whether managed services is right for you and about choosing the right managed services provider and things like that, but nothing is as good as having a one-on-one discussion so that you can really determine if managed services is right for your specific organizational needs and whether or not managed services would meet your organizational goals and objectives as well. So for those of you on the call and those of you who signed up for this webinar, we want you to take advantage of a free 1-hour consultation where we can help you understand how ProServeIT can augment, your managed services need, maybe augment your IT department, different things like that with those proactive monitoring that Tom was talking about in today's webinar, managing your security needs, resolving technical incidents that might arise, acting as a service desk for any of your end user questions or concerns as well. So different things like that. Our experts will sit down with you and really go through your specific needs, what you're looking for from a managed services partner, and sort of have that whole conversation with you and that kind of thing. So if you are interested in this 1-hour consultation, you can email us at cloud@proserveit.com. It's at the bottom of the screen there, and we will help you get started. So let's move into this more formal Q&A session here. Again, please type those questions into the questions tab, and we'll answer them as they come up. I haven't seen any so far, so I hope you folks won't be too shy, and we'll just use that questions tab to your advantage. So I'll just hang out here for a second and wait for, oh, we got one coming in actually. So Tony's asking here, how is the security level of a managed services account increased or improved upon adoption? Not sure if Tom or Corey wants to field that question.
Yeah, can certainly dive into that. So one of the things that we look at when it comes to security is taking a look at how security is set up to begin with, and then doing a bit of a security audit is the first process. So understanding where gaps may be in an organization and how those can be filled or addressed, and also improving things like the reporting on security. So making sure that things like malware and emails, security passwords meet proper criteria and lengths, and having some structure behind the security. So it's more than just monitoring, it's doing a full audit of a client environment and making sure that we understand what you have and addressing where some of those needs and those gaps may be. Corey, I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
No, I think that's great.
Awesome. So Tony, if you want me to ask any follow-up questions on your behalf, please, by all means, type that into the window and we'll do that for you. I've also got a question here from Evelyn. She says, we already have someone on our staff that does our IT. So how does managed services typically integrate with our staff?
That's a great question. I'll take that one. So a lot of businesses will have somebody who's already on staff who either is IT support or maybe kind of the IT person. Think of managed services as an extended arm of your branch. If you have a department where we come in and we can help with whether it be overflow work for that organization and helping with the tier 1, tier 2 scenarios, or being the be-all and end-all solution for an environment and helping work directly with an individual on technologies that they may not have background in, but the staff in our team would be able to assist and help guide with the changes or even problems within new technologies. So it's kind of a helping environment, helping hand, not so much a replacement to anything. We're complementary to an existing IT team.
And that was actually a topic that we discussed in the last webinar too, the webinar number 3 of this series as well. So Evelyn, if you'd like to dive a little bit more into that, you can actually take a look at the recording that we'll be sending out from webinar 3, and it should be able to help you to clarify a little bit more of that as well. But yeah, if you do have any other follow-up questions, you can certainly type them into the window as well. So I'm just going to leave the line open here for another minute or two and just see if any final questions do come in. Again, don't be shy. We're happy to assist.
Would be good if you could elaborate on the software and tools we use that we provide that customers don't need to invest in for antivirus and for monitoring, because I think that that's a huge advantage in, that we can add as opposed to having to invest independently.
Exactly, that's great. When it comes to the tools and the software itself, Corey, you're right. When we come to the table, we're not looking for you to purchase anything when it comes to new equipment or new software like that. We're bringing a set of tools with us. So we use a Kaseya monitoring system, which comes with a suite of softwares that we install depending on what the devices are for the monitoring itself. AV and AV licensing, those things are all part and parcel to what we look at taking care of with you, but we have the background software and tools from our end. So it's not something that's net new that you're going to need for that type of monitoring or software maintenance. Again, it comes from our end.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So I'm not seeing any other questions popping up at this time. So I think that's going to do it for us here today. We'll actually be able to give you back quite a chunk of your time, which is great. And if you did have any other questions, please feel free to email us at cloud@proserveit.com. It's at the bottom of the screen there. We're absolutely happy to get in touch with you and provide you with any answers that you might have to, any answers to questions that you might have. So yeah, feel free to email us, reach out to us as well if you're interested in the 1-hour consultation too. So cloud@proserveIT.com is the email to get a hold of us. So I think that's going to wrap it up for us here. On behalf of Tom, Corey, and myself, I wanted to say thank you very much for joining us today and for joining us again on this managed services journey. We hope that you received the information that you were looking for and that you're, maybe a little bit more comfortable with the idea of potentially becoming a managed services customer, and maybe have had some of those questions that you had answered during this series. Again, we will be sending the entire series recordings out to you folks, so you will be able to see them on demand at your convenience. And hopefully we'll also see you at some of our future webinars too, because we do host quite a few of them. So we're always looking to have people join us in those webinars, and yeah, I think that that'll do it for us today. So thanks so much, and hope you enjoy the rest of your day.